Hey, everybody. Welcome to In Broad Daylight, a solo podcast hosted by me. I'm Adam Todd Brown. Have you heard? Since November, residents all over the fine state of New Jersey have been reporting sightings of strange drones of unknown origin flying over their communities. And are we really doing this, America? We're genuinely going to treat the origin of these drones like it's some sort of mystery? Okay, fine. Let's do this. The sightings spanned 8 counties in New Jersey, often over or near sensitive and crucial infrastructure sites like rail stations, power plants, and the golf course that Trump owns. They've also been spotted further away in New York City and Philadelphia. In one report, a law enforcement officer alleges he saw 50 drones come in from the ocean at a spot called Island Beach State Park. And since when have the cops ever lied? Ditto for politicians. New Jersey Republican Representative Chris Smith claims a Coast Guard official told him that one of their ships was trailed by a team of 12 to 30 drones. Very specific range there. But as we speak, social media is filthy with videos of these things taken by average, everyday citizens, one of whom described the crafts as pacing back and forth, going very slow. The oddest and I think most interesting detail is that, unlike what you're probably imagining when you hear the word drone, these things are described as being the size of a car or SUV. So, on the one hand, it's great that we maybe have flying cars now, but less great that we still don't get to use them for some reason. The issue is serious enough that it warranted a meeting between state and local officials from the area where the sightings have been reported and the Department of Homeland Security. It was apparently revealed during that meeting that the drones are also somehow able to avoid traditional detection methods like helicopters and radio. Is that really all we have to detect drones? Seems like we'd be doing better than that in 2K24. But it's fine. Either way, that sounds pretty concerning. But according to at least one attendee at the DHS meeting, the people entrusted with keeping the homeland secure were kind of dismissive of the concerns shared with them. That's worth remembering as we get deeper into this. There have been lots of theories tossed around about what these things are and where they're coming from, with one of the wildest being the theory of another Republican representative from New Jersey, Jeff Van Drew. He claimed that his very qualified and reliable source told him that they're coming from an Iranian mothership parked off the east coast of the United States. This is what he told Fox News, quote, "Here is the real deal. I'm on the transportation committee, on the aviation subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you, Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off the east coast of the United States of America." End quote. And yeah, that's definitely a thing this country would just let happen. I don't buy the Iran theory at all. In fact, I think there are a lot of clues that point to who is almost certainly behind this. Frustrated residents and politicians alike have been asking some perfectly valid questions about these drones, with one of them being, why can't the military just shoot these things out of the sky like Flight 93? Well, the New Jersey representative I mentioned earlier, who said a Coast Guard source told him a bunch of these drones followed one of their ships, he also says he asked the Coast Guard why they didn't just shoot them down, and that he was told they didn't have authorization to shoot them down. If your question is where are these things coming from, I think the answer lies in that lack of military response. I know when I say this, it'll feel like it happened 10 years ago, because that's how time works now. Remember when that Chinese spy balloon flew over the United States last year? Remember how the government responded? They had the Air Force shoot that thing down post haste. And listen, sometimes You just shouldn't need to be directly told what's going on to understand what's going on. These things aren't being shot out of the sky by the military because the most likely scenario is that they are the military. There are a few different military facilities in the exact area where these drone sightings started, and I think one of them is the obvious culprit. And I know what you're going to say, but Adam, reporters asked and reps from those facilities all said these weren't their drones. Okay, my reply to that is, how do you know they're not lying? Far be it from me to push conspiracy theories or anything. The military is under no obligation to tell us the truth in this situation. If you think the government is just going to automatically fess up because a reporter from the New Jersey Herald asked a few questions, you are a fool. If you don't believe that, explain the Freedom of Information Act. We have to ask the government in writing to tell us the truth. And if it's even going to happen then is a total crapshoot. Sometimes people have to sue the government to get them to tell the truth. So representatives from nearby military bases denying that they have anything to do with these drone sightings is meaningless. And I think one military facility close to these drone sightings in particular strikes me as especially likely to be the kind of outfit that might fly some experimental military craft around the community purely out of necessity. That would be the delightfully named Picatinny Arsenal. For starters, it is literally one of the first places these drones were seen hovering over, if that does anything for you. Also, the name kind of implies that we're just storing weapons there. But guess what they do at the Picatinny Arsenal? Since 1977, it's been the headquarters of the Army's Armament Research and Development Command. They've changed their name a bunch, most recently in 2019, to the Combat Capabilities Development Command Armaments Center. Now, if you're nodding in knowing agreement, despite having no clue what the word armament means, it's just another way to say military weapons and equipment. And surely you know what research and development means. The Picatinny Arsenal is one of the places where the military develops experimental war machines. When America needed a new missile to counter the mighty Scud missile in Iraq the first time around, they came up with the Patriot missile at the Picatinny Arsenal. But guess what kind of weapon they are most recently known for coming up with? Robot guns. Exactly what it sounds like. A robot outfitted with a gun. In this case, an M249 machine gun, just like the one you probably have at home. Good thing we were back in Iraq when those were ready to literally roll, because the first time they were deployed in combat was during the second war in that country. How convenient. So imagine, if you will, you're the military research and development department that sort of successfully put a robot on the battlefield. Where do you go from there? You go up. You've conquered the land. Now it's time to take the sky. That's obviously just speculation on my part, but a defense expert speaking to the always trustworthy New York Post also suggested this could just be a secret military thing. That defense expert is retired Navy SEAL and current security company owner Clint Emerson. And he added that it wouldn't necessarily have to be a battlefield thing. It could just as easily be surveillance related. Either way, these drones being outfitted with weapons or surveillance technology would probably go a long way toward explaining why they're the size of cars. Just throwing this out there as a possibility, not a fact. I did an episode of this show a few months ago called 2014 Was Our Worst Year Ever, or Never Trust a Chevy Silverado. On that episode, I talked about a highly effective and invasive surveillance device called a Stingray. It works great, apparently, but the main drawbacks are that you need to be within the vicinity of the person you're trying to spy on, and you have to hide it in something the size of the bed of a Chevy Silverado. Now imagine how much more mileage you could get out of that surveillance device if you could hide a bunch of them in a fleet of drones. I'm not suggesting that's what these things are, but I am suggesting that they are the size of a car for a reason, and it's probably not a good reason. In that same New York Post interview, former Navy SEAL Clint Emerson also mentioned that if this was something happening as a special projects kind of thing, it would be very possible that just a handful of people would know about it. Here's a quote. My first guess is these are potentially government programs kept within what's known as a special access program, which is purposely put together to keep even the most cleared people out. It truly is to keep it secret. That's why the government's like, we don't know. They're being truthful. They don't even know the program exists. And with that in mind, are you ready for what is definitely just a huge coincidence? Speaking of a small group of people who might be familiar with what's actually happening, this year, a group called the Picatinny Enhancement Coalition made their inaugural visit to Washington, D.C. Here's a quote from the Morris County, New Jersey website about the trip. The visit, known as the Picatinny Charge, was the first of what will be regular treks to the nation's capital to remind federal authorities of Picatinny Arsenal's importance, not just to the region, but also to the entire nation and its national defense. Picatinny Arsenal has been a staple in the United States military defense for decades. End quote. The website also adds that the visit involved meetings with Department of Defense officials and members of the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, are you ready for the best part? From what I can tell from the date the article was published and from social media posts about it, it seems like the inaugural Picatinny Charge happened sometime this week. At the very least, the county didn't start posting about it until December 10th, and that was days ago. So at the same time, stories about mysterious drones flooding the skies around the general area of the Picatinny Arsenal start making national headlines, a group of advocates are meeting with the Department of Defense to remind them what Picatinny Arsenal is capable of. What a fun coincidence. Oh, but there is one last detail. I would argue the most compelling detail that points to this being a government operation. Somehow, no one is making a big deal out of it, but these drone sightings started on November 13th and have been reported every day since, except Thanksgiving. It's almost as if the people operating these things all had the day off from their government jobs or something. But again, the media asked Picatinny Arsenal if they were behind this, and they said no. So I'm being a crazy person right now, assuming it would be the military just because they have the capability to make flying machines no one has seen before at a facility in the exact same area where people are seeing flying machines we've never seen before is pure conspiracy theory talk, folks. Pay it no mind and let the weeks of speculation about this being aliens or China or an alliance of both begin. And hey, that's our episode, everybody. Thank you so much for watching or listening, however you're doing it. Why don't you hit that like and subscribe button if you would? Follow me on Instagram at Adam Todd Brown, on Blue Sky at Adam Todd Brown. Whatever the rest of that is. And thanks, everybody. I love you.